welcome back to the Talkoffame podcast. I'm Kyliemontigney, and I'm so excited to introduce you to Gemma Asfour. She is best known as a dancer, choreographer, actress, and podcast host. While classically trained in all styles of dance, it is her expertise in underground street styles, particularly Chicago footwork and contemporary fusion, which is setting the dance world on fire. Her dynamic style has been showcased in an NBA halftime show for the Timberwolves alongside Tone Lock, as well as Capri Everett's music video on site. Gemma is a choreographer and director of the upcoming concept video Always Forever, in which the stages of the Depiction love story are told through the push and pull movement and dance. Her unique vision and exceptional talent are catching the eye of many top choreographers under which she consumed trains as an actress, and Jenna can be seen in the parental controls Instagram commercial for Meta and is making her film debut as Anna in the coming movie Me Loca Quinceana, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
And passionate about making the world a better place, Gemma started the Society Inspired campaign in which she interviews various activists and artists about social issues in the community in a world with the goal to deepen the knowledge of her peers and start conversations about difficult topics. In her free time, this unique young teen enjoys playing drums and photography, which is amazing, something that I love to do as well in my free time. But I thank you so much, Gemma, for taking the time. I know we've been trying to do this for a hot minute, so I'm very glad we were able to kind of finally to talk on here.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Of course, I'm so excited to have you on. So, of course, you are the founder of Society Inspired. In the campaign, you interview different activists and help educate ourselves as we speak out about these important topics in a world that we're facing. Why did you start this campaign?
Yeah. So Society Inspired's like my baby. As you can see, I have a banner on my wall. It's backwards because I normally reverse the video. But I have been testing ever since a little girl activist been a part of my life, I guess. I was raised in in households that we had like debates and discussions about different subjects in the world. I thought it was help opinions and to talk it through. But I lived in Minneapolis, Minnesota when George Floyd was murdered in 2020, and that was kind of my final push to do something myself. I kind of had a little idea seed in my brain of wanting to create a platform that talked about different social issues, but it's something that takes a lot and it can be kind of scary
Mhm.
to make that change in the world. I was young too. I was 13, I think. And so it was something that scared me, and that's why I didn't start it before that. But that happening and seeing the environment around me and what Minneapolis turned into and the
Mhm.
protests and everything, I wanted to be a part of the change in the world. And that is just kind of why I started the campaign.
That's really awesome. Like I know with a lot of people, oftentimes events are happening whether it's in the US or one of those NATO countries or whatever. I know a lot of podcasters or even activists are really impacted by a certain event and time, or even seeing something on television or something is really a big
Yes.
thing that impacted a lot of
Okay.
people. And you even started before I did, which is crazy. You started at 13, I started at 14, so which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Okay, there, yeah.
So about a year or so different in age,
Yeah.
which like how did you kind of come up with the idea of starting the podcast at 13 years old?
Ooh, ooh, I I I'm somebody that feels things like very, very deeply. Um
Same
and
here.
so with my upbringing and with who I am, it just I already knew what that felt like to have different world events like be not looked at as much as they should be or like talked about as much.
Mhm.
And I felt that growing up because of who I am. And so at 13, even though I was young and I knew what that felt like,
Mhm.
I knew that feeling and I didn't want anyone else to experience that feeling. Because it's really a sucky feeling to be like, do people not care enough to make to talk about it, to make this change in the world of like this this needs attention other more than other things. So at 13, I kind of was like in my head, I was like, I want to do something. One, I didn't know what to do. Like,
Mhm.
how can I talk about these things? What can I do that's quote unquote different than what people are already doing? Because sometimes like it's not what people are already doing isn't working. It's like you need a new perspective on it for some people to start understanding. So
Mhm.
I think at 13, it was just me feeling really deeply about the world around me and then realizing like nobody should experience this, and that was kind of that was my push. Yeah.
You're like I like love that there was a like a certain point in which you started the whole thing. Like honestly, it was the same for me as well. Like before, like it was during the pandemic when I started this whole thing. Like if
Mhm.
like the pandemic never happened, then I probably wouldn't be doing this at all. Like honestly.
Oh,
Because of
yeah.
the pandemic and we were stuck at home, we weren't able to do anything. And of course, with women empowerment, of course, being from different subjects, it made me want to push to talk about these things.
Yes.
And because I didn't obviously like I had the same way, I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't know what to
Yeah.
do. Like I honestly didn't know where the activism was gonna go
Yeah.
and what I should do in terms of it. Because there's honestly many ways you could approach it.
Yes.
And of course, so podcasting during the pandemic, it was very popular. And
Yes.
so, and that was probably, in my opinion, the best way at that time to
Yeah.
reach or like approach more people at
I
that period.
agree.
Of course, so a lot of people like listen to podcasts to this day, but it wasn't as popular as it was back when 2020 and that whole pandemic
For sure.
time period.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
But like, what type of people do you interview on Society Inspired?
Um, who all different types of people. There's not one specific field of activism that I stay in. I try
Mhm.
to actually approach all topics because there are certain campaigns and nonprofits that approach one topic, and
Yeah.
there's things of that already. And I wanted to create a platform that that just had open conversations that people felt safe to learn. They felt
Mhm.
safe to ask questions because I know it can be an intimidating thing to ask questions and maybe not understand something fully. Language wise, language is a big thing. So I interview all different types of activists, and recently I've been trying to actually do some more activists that are younger. Um, under, I would say it's kind of been like under 21, people who are in college or high school still, because we'll talk about it later, but I faced a lot of stigma of like you're too young to know what you're talking about. And
Oh, 100%, yeah.
yeah, so I think that's why I try to do young people now, because I'm talking to people who have successful nonprofits that are letting girls in Afghanistan get an education because they can't go to school. Like that's crazy. Like to create a whole platform to give kids education, like that it's something that because of the new generation, like and our tools that we know how to use, like I think it's really important to also talk about the new generation and what we're doing, because I also do feel like our generation feels very deeply about things. So I am trying to focus more on some younger people, but really all activists, all ages, I've enjoyed talking to. Yeah.
Like, of course, for a lot of people, not most, a lot of adults, do think there's like stigma about like what young kids are, they don't know anything. They don't watch the news. Like, how are they supposed to, know anything about different
Yeah.
things that are happening? But it's
Yeah.
also like, well, there's tons of activists out there that are maybe high school or college that are as important as activists
That
that
are
are
old.
maybe in their 30s or 40s or even
For
older, like
sure.
twice their age. So
Oh,
I know like a lot of people, like they probably have as much knowledge as a
yeah.
teenager or a young adult to act more adults that could ever have that knowledge.
Well, I agree 100%.
But like, what are some like issues that are important to you personally that are currently happening or previously?
Uh, well, we have so many issues that deserve immediate attention in our world. Some closest to my heart that involve just receiving basic human rights. But
That's a good one.
as as I mentioned in your blog and previously, there are so many urgent issues that need to be talked about. That's why I
Mhm.
don't focus on one field of activism because I feel like they all deserve to be talked have time to be talked about. And I mean, I'm never gonna stop being a student. Every episode I learn more, and
Mhm.
I learn alongside everybody that's listening to my podcast. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really all issues need to be talked about. All issues need to be discussed and thought about. Um, yeah, that's my answer. I know it's not. Yes.
Like I love that answer because of course, like with having a podcast and having a platform, like we learn as much as we do in school, maybe even more, depending on the
Yeah.
day, depending on
Yep.
topics. Because of course, not a lot of topics we learn in school. Like many of the topics that we're facing, we sometimes don't learn in the school setting,
Yeah.
as many, maybe as much schools do. I mean, some schools don't talk about certain things, some do. So
Mhm.
it depends on the school system. But when we have a podcast talking about different activists or actors or whatever the podcast missions is,
Yeah,
we learn as more like every single day as if we were actually a listener to this podcast.
for sure. Yeah.
But do you have like in terms of podcasts, like do you have any favorite podcasts?
Oh,
I know
oh,
that's a hard question. I
oh,
say a ton.
ooh, well, okay, podcast wise, actually, I stopped a little bit ago. I stopped listening to activism podcasts for a while because my brain was like constantly listening to that. I got like very overwhelmed and filled with anxiety because then I'm like, me being me, I'm like, oh, I need to talk about this. I need to talk about this.
I
I need to
know that I'm the same exact
and
way.
I can't do all of it. I can't take all of that on.
Yeah, at the same
Um,
time, it can be very
I
overwhelming.
think I think my favorite podcast right now is actually a dance podcast. It's called Words That Move Me by Dana Wilson. I've actually been listening to it since 2020, I think. So it's
Ooh.
one of my favorites for a really long time. I get so much valuable information about the dance and entertainment industry from that
Ooh.
podcast. So yeah.
I
Yeah.
have to look up that one. That seems
Yeah,
interesting.
you
I'm
should.
a big
You should.
dance and entertainment girl, so I am always looking for recommendations.
Okay,
So
yeah,
I always look that one.
you definitely should.
But like, how did people react to like you starting the campaign? Because I'm sure that when people talk about different activism and stuff like that, there can be a lot of mixed reactions and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, I face the stigma a lot of you don't know what you're talking about, you're too young to make a change, you're too young to like even try to like this won't stay going, basically, is what I was
Yeah.
told. And I started this in 2021, so it's been almost 3 years. And so that wasn't true. Because even though like I had a lot of activists that like wouldn't show up for the meetings that we had scheduled,
Oh,
and then
same here.
I would never hear from them again. And I was like, and I'd see them doing other interviews, and I'm like, the only difference is that I'm young and my podcast is small. Um, and so that was kind of the main reaction that I received because I was I was trying to learn too alongside of everybody else. And I mean, yeah, I feel like that's kind of the main one. I didn't have the best reaction, but now it has grown and I have more listeners and more supporters and people are willing to talk and share their story, and it's something that I'm really grateful for.
Like that's honestly the same thing for me as well. Is that like sometimes with being so young, it can be a good and bad thing to some people. Like, of course, when you're at a podcast host at a young age, high school, college, not a lot of people love to take you seriously in some points because how young you are, like what are you doing? Like why are you doing a podcast at such a young age and talking about different topics? And I sometimes when people I ask people to come on the podcast, they sometimes do interviews but don't come on or even respond to me as well, which honestly is the biggest pet peeve I have is that
Yeah,
like I could at least do the interview, but I could at
yeah,
least try to make the time to at least get the heads up or like find the effort to do it. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
I know what it feels like to be left hanging. Like, oh, what am I supposed to do now?
Yeah, it's not our
What
fault.
do you
Like at
want?
least
What do
we
you
try
want?
to put the effort in.
Yeah. God, I know what that feels like.
It's honestly very painful. Like, it's so painful, but after a while, it's just like, okay, it's just this is normal. Like
Yep.
at first, it was honestly just very painful.
Yeah.
But like, what is kind of why is it important to have like these conversations about different things that are going on in the world today?
For sure. I mean, kind of a simple answer, to be honest. It's important because with the evolved society that we live in, it evolves really fast nowadays. And we need to remember that there are other people in this world, not just ourselves,
Hmm.
and they're living different experiences, whether that is a positive experience or a negative experience. And I think another thing to remember is that we're all human.
Hmm.
And we have to share humanity and be looking out for one another. Like that's a part of being human. We shouldn't be topping each other. We should be taking care of each other, and we're all human is
Yeah.
basically why I just think it's important. Yeah. Really, that's my answer. Like I said, it's simple. We're just all human. We should be watching out for one another and taking care of each other.
Yes, I so agree. Because of course, with being in this industry, entertainment specifically, it can be very hard. With people saying no, rejection after rejection. It's a lot of work. Like not everyone can do it alone. This is a tough industry. Everyone needs to have supporters, whether it's family or friends, or even managers, people that represent you. I have very important to have a supporter, even when it's very tough. It's one of the
Yeah,
most important things to live life is to really have that support from some people. It can be one, it can be two people, it can be a million people, no matter how much people that support you, because there's gonna be tons of people that don't support you, which is
yeah,
okay. That's part of life. You know, people sometimes don't like to disagree on what you do or what you
yeah,
believe in or kind of where you want to be or when
yeah,
you go over or in that certain period of time. But it's just a part of life that you sometimes it takes forever to really get through at certain
yeah.
points.
I agree.
But alongside you having a podcast, you're also are a dancer in LA.
Yeah.
Like how often do you usually train?
Um, on average per week, I train about 20 to 25 hours a week. It
Oh,
depends if
wow.
I have, yeah, it depends if I have intensives or different rehearsals, but training is something that's really important to me, and I kind of have a specific schedule that I follow. So, yeah, I would say 20 to 25 hours a week,
That's
depending.
crazy. I cannot imagine doing 20 to 24 hours a week. It's like
Yeah.
it reminds me of doing a full-time job for some reason of that much hours.
I mean, I do want this to be my full-time job, so I guess that's a good
It's a
comparison.
good sign. It's a very good
Yeah.
sign. But like what like do you have a favorite like genre of dance that you like to dance to or even watch?
Yeah, ooh, I think an important thing to me as a dancer was to always be and still is to be well-rounded in all styles. So, even the styles that I'm not the best at, I try to constantly evolve and learn so I can have all the tools in my toolbox. But I think my favorite style is definitely contemporary fusion. It's a
Hmm.
style that has always spoken to me because I love hip hop and I
Hmm.
love I love contemporary, and fusing them together is like my heart.
Yeah.
My concept video is contemporary fusion, and a lot of my creations are actually contemporary not confusion, fusion. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite genre.
Contemporary is honestly one of my personal favorites too, because I love hip hop and the music of R&B and everything.
Yeah.
So, with everything, involving that, I'm just like, whatever involves hip hop, I'm in. I'm
Yeah.
totally in because like I'm in, because I love R&B or hip hop music.
Yeah.
So I'm like, whatever involves that, or maybe even tap dancing. I did tap dancing for a hot minute years ago before the pandemic. So if something, as long as it has an upbeat or if like has a big kind of upbringing, then I'm like,
No,
that's
I
my
agree.
sort of thing.
I'm the same way.
It's crazy to see how much like hip hop music has like deprived and the style of dance
Mhm.
has changed over the
Yeah.
last couple of years. I know hip hop was such a big thing in the early 2000s, mid to 2010s.
Yeah, for sure. I think still though, I mean it definitely is still in the culture is something that stays, and which is something that I'm continuing to learn about so I can fully appreciate the style. But it's constantly evolving, and it's amazing to watch where it started to where it is now for sure.
And I've been dying to ask this question, but on February 14th, you're coming out with a concept video called Always Forever. What was it like creating that video?
Oh my gosh. So, yes, so this is my first concept video, and I am so excited. If you are, I'm not sure like the exact day this is coming out, but like if you're watching this before February 11th, which I don't think you will be, but you know the date that it's coming out now. But yeah, so February 14th is the day that I chose because I kind of made the concept video around like a push and pull love situation. Um, just kind of any sort of relationship. It actually doesn't need to be a romantic relationship, but making this video it took a year.
Mhm.
And I'm going to say it took a year because of my own mental like barriers that I needed to push through. It was like trusting my vision, trusting my process. Is this going to be good enough? Is this going to look the way that I want to on camera? Am I overthinking all of this? So it was definitely a long process, but I am so proud of the outcome. It's always going to have a special place in my heart. The next concept videos will definitely be faster.
Mhm.
But I made it with one of my best friends who was so patient with me along the whole journey. Um, which I'm so thankful for. And an amazing videographer, a videographer who was so open and willing to hear what my vision was and then do that and beyond, and the editing, everything about it was it's amazing. I'm so
Mhm.
excited. I'm so excited for everybody to see it. Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, can't wait to see it. Like, it seems
Yay.
amazing. Like, whoever, like, this episode is probably gonna be out the same day it's released. So, if anyone were listening, make sure to go check it out. I'm
Yeah.
super excited to see it. But what can we expect from it? I know you probably can't say much, but
Yeah.
what can you say?
Ooh, so what can you expect from it? I think that's up for you to decide because I made the story kind of when I listened to the song, I kind of everything came to mind and I kind of knew what I wanted to do with it. It was just trusting myself to create that. But um what to expect from it? I mean, it can look like a weird situation. Maybe it won't to you, maybe it will to somebody else. I think it's up to your own interpretation. And I feel like a lot of dance is sometimes.
Yeah.
So I don't know what expectation to put out there. I feel like it's kind of up to people's interpretation to feel and
Now you
understand the
got me
story.
so excited to see it. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. But you're making your film debut as Anna in the coming movie Me, Loca Coincidenia. What is the message of this movie?
Yeah, so Mi Loca Quinceañera is like it's like a 80s throwback John Hughes-esque
Ooh.
sort of vibe. It's fun. The message is coming of age difficulties like dating and friendship dynamics.
Hmm.
And yeah, Yeah.
Ooh, it seems right at the top of my movie. Oh my gosh. It seems
Yay!
something I love. Oh my gosh. Now you got me going crazy to see all this stuff now. But if you had to ask a character a question in this movie, what would it be?
Ask my character a question.
Yeah, or any character in the film.
Oh, okay. Um, hmm. Well, okay, so my character Anna and I feel like we're a lot alike personality wise.
Hmm.
But something we didn't really dive into, I feel like, is maybe like other passions. So I guess I would ask like what hobbies Anna maybe has.
Ooh, that's a
Yeah.
good question.
Yeah.
That like I feel like with me when having a character in a movie, I'll probably have tons of questions knowing me as a podcast host with having so many
Yeah.
questions in
I mean,
mind.
I feel like me too, but the thing is that like reading the monologue, I was like, oh wait, like I I would say something like this. So I was maybe just like hobbies. I would ask about her hobbies.
That's a
Yeah.
good one. That's a very good question. But as we are almost ending the interview, and now for some fun questions, wrap this up. But what is your favorite movie?
Okay. So it depends on the genre, but my top four on Letterboxd is um I'm thinking Little Miss Sunshine,
Ooh,
Little Women, 2019 version, Lady Bird, and The Hunger Games Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. But I love like 80s coming of film movies like
oh,
Breakfast
same
Club
here.
or I'm a sucker for rom-coms like How to Lose a Guy
Same
in 10
here.
Days and When Harry Met Sally. So like it depends. It depends. What else? Um I love Bridget Jones' Diary. I've moved.
Really? I love Bridget Jones' Diary too. I
Oh,
love
okay. So I cannot find anybody who likes
really?
and I'm like, Where are you? How have
I
you not
know
watched
it's also like it's one of my favorite movies. It's so
Yes,
good. Like,
yes.
do you like Patrick Dempsey? Oh my gosh. At least I'm not the only one who loves Patrick Dempsey. He's so adorable. At least I'm not the only one who likes that movie. I'm just now I don't feel alone. It makes me feel so much better. But who's like your favorite actor or actress?
There's so many, ooh, there's so many talented artists. I feel like that's impossible to answer. Meryl Streep was one of the many trailblazers for women in the industry.
Yeah.
I look up to that in my generation. I love Jenna Ortega. And now that you asked me the question, my mind has gone blank on people. So
That's how I am too when people ask that question
I
too. It
love,
takes me
I
probably like
love,
5 minutes to figure out, okay, who do I like
yeah,
actually?
yeah. I love art. I love artists.
Me too. I'm like I can like I'm a big entertainment geek, so I can give you like a million people that I absolutely love or I'm obsessed with. Like every week, there's always someone new that I'm obsessed with and love. Like there's always
Yeah.
something every week. But the last question I have is if you could work with anyone, dancing, acting, or anything, or have it on a podcast, who would it be?
Okay. Okay. Okay, for dance, it would be the legend, Kenny Ortega.
Ooh.
I am fortunate right now that all my teachers and mentors are amazing and um I'm so grateful to be working with them, but Kenny Ortega would definitely be a dream
Oh, that would be a good
to
one.
work with. Um, Acting wise, there are so many people, but Meryl Streep, of course. Emma Stone, I love Emma
Oh,
Stone.
I love Emma too.
Mark Ruffalo,
Hmm.
John Cusack, many more. My brain again is not
Yeah,
raving
those
you
are
at
good
me.
answers. Meryl
Okay.
Streep will forever be an icon in my mind.
Yes. No, yeah, for sure.
That is honestly the perfect way to wrap up this episode. It was honestly so fun to chat with you. This is honestly one of my favorite episodes I filmed, even though I've been doing this for almost 3 years now. This is honestly one of my favorite episodes I got to
Oh,
film. But I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. Make sure to check um Gemma out and her work. It's amazing. And her podcast. And I appreciate everyone listening. Make sure to rate and subscribe. And thank you so much, Gemma, for coming on and
thank
chatting.
you
I
for
really appreciate
having
it.
me. Thank you for having me.